Good morning, everybody. It's a Saturday morning, about 7 o'clock. It's just getting good and light. I got mini-me behind me. Headed out to the farm. Got a few things to do this weekend. It's a long weekend, holiday weekend. So hope everybody's having a good holiday weekend, which is a good thing. Little windy, little rainy today. Definitely fall. Exactly how it's supposed to be. Hunting season started yesterday here, so there'll be lots of hunters out, people looking for a bullwinkle. Well, here we are again at the railroad crossing on 10th Street on our way out to the farm. And like I've said before, I can't emphasize enough the importance to stop and look both ways for a train. Because if you cross one enough, you and the train are eventually going to meet. Much better than last week. I think a combination of packing the mud down. It looks like they also graded some of that stuff off the top to the side. Okay, it was pretty sloppy. It's pretty nice now. Like we talked about last week, they're just down to a skeleton crew waiting for hunting season to be over and get ramped up for the winter activities, whatever they got planned, some bridge work, and I think they do have some road work lined up. I don't exactly know how much or what. This is the boat launch. We've seen this many times in the videos. This is the jumping off point to go down the Tanana or up the Nenana. The river's pretty full with all the rain we've been getting. So it's pretty full. I want to drop my phone, that would be the end of that. So it's getting with it. It's still pretty early, so not quite good light yet. But for the first couple days of September, it's good September weather. Looking like it may clear up. See a little bit of nice sky in the far horizon there. Okay, just pulling onto the farm again. A windy one. So we're gonna work on putting up a garage, I guess you call it. It's a portable building. You can get them at Lowe's or Home Depot. We need someplace warm and dry to get the skid steer out of the weather. It starts getting cold and snowy. We'll need to have a place to defrost it and do things to it. Thought about burning some piles today, but it's a little too windy. So if the wind lets up, we might do that. We'll see how it goes. So anyways, I'll try to get some video of this stuff and we'll see what happens. Okay, Dave got here early and he took the mulcher and prepped the building site. So it's nice and smooth, everything's chipped up real good. Pretty nice. And what we're putting together is a Shelter Logic garage in a box which should be about big enough to put the mulcher in. We hope. Put a little video on, and I guess we'll have some comedy watching the time lapse. I was actually pretty impressed with this building. The instructions were pretty good, and for the most part it had everything you need. There was a couple of pieces that weren't quite the right ones for this particular kit that got in the box somehow, but we were able to work around it, make it all work. Everybody okay? That was a hell of a fall, huh? Yeah. Having several people working on this project at the same time sure made it go up relatively fast. The instructions were pretty straightforward, and it was relatively simple. And it definitely helped that Dave had put a couple of these together before, so experience was a big plus. You really don't need anything more than basic hand tools. Let some power tools speed things up for sure. After the frame was together, we just needed to square it up, which was relatively easy. And again, that was all in the instructions, what measurements they wanted you to come up with. So you didn't have to try to figure that out, which was a very nice thing to have. And the closer you can get it to square, the better the cover's going to fit and the easier it's going to be to put on. At this point, things were going really well and moving along really fast. That's how you put in a ground anchor. Okay, after getting the structure all plumb, the anchor's put in, it's time to put the covering on. And that's when things didn't go quite so well. By this point, the wind had really started to pick up, and it was clearing off. But I had no doubt we were pushing 20-25 mile an hour wind, and it still wasn't even hardly 50 degrees out. So not only was it cold, it is very hard to handle that covering and get it up where it needs to be with that much wind pushing against it. Probably should have waited for better weather to put the cover on, but with fall approaching fast and you're never sure how many good days you're going to have, we figured we better just get it done. But with a little luck and a lot of effort, we finally got the cover on and then needed to get it stretched down tight. We get so spoiled in the summer in the interior. The days are so nice, long and warm. It's hard to remember that you're going to need something to get in and out of the cold and the snow. With a crew of 3, assembling this should only take a few hours. But with the high wind and the cool temperatures, it took the 3 of us the better part of a day to get this thing put together and ready to use. But all worth it. Okay, the final test was to make sure the skid steer would actually fit through the door and get all the way inside. And sure enough, it fits all the way in with a few feet all the way around, enough room to put heat in there and do basic maintenance on it. When operating most any piece of equipment, there are times that you need to bring it inside and completely defrost it and warm it up, get the snow and ice out of places that it shouldn't be. We definitely don't plan on using this in the deepest, darkest part of the winter, but as long as we can use it into the fall, we will. So there will be a period of time that we're fighting some snow and ice and cold weather. As the farm grows, develops, and expands, we will need more elaborate buildings, and trying to decide on what type of building we're going to want to use, whether it's a metal building, a wood building, or a larger, more permanent fabric building. Time will only tell.
Yes.
What you doing? You a motley crew. Hi, Belle, Rose, and Dusty Dog. What you guys thinking? Go get him. Go get him. That's Dusty behind Adrian. He follows her everywhere, never leaves her side. A very faithful dog. Okay, the hitch for the tractor came in just a few days after we picked it up, actually. And they got us everything we needed. The hitch and a pin and all the fasteners to assemble it. Relatively easy to put on and had everything we needed. This is probably one of the bigger challenges. When you're the only equipment in the area and the only larger equipment, making sure you have everything to get the job done takes a little planning. It's not as easy as just running to town or going down to the neighbors and asking if you can borrow a hitch pin from them. But that's all part of the experience in building a new farm on the edge of the Alaska wilderness. Okay, same day, much later, and of course the sun has come out, the wind has quit blowing. It is a beautiful evening. We'll see what tomorrow brings. That dirty window down for you. George is going. George is out disking tonight. It's a little after 10 o'clock. Disking in the dark's not too bad. This 6135E tractor has awesome lights on it, as you can see, which make working with it at night pretty nice, actually. Plenty of light on the implement behind you to see what it's doing. When you're running the disc at night, there's not too much stuff you have to watch out for. Occasionally a fair-sized root or log may jam the disc up and you got to clear it out. Doesn't do any damage or hurt the disc, just one of those things you have to work through. And getting a new field worked up takes a lot of passes, so we're just making use of all the time we have. Okay, so it's a cold, wet, rainy September day. I think it was 41 degrees this morning, so 9 degrees above freezing. We have lots of burn piles to burn this year. This is a good time of year to do it. Rainy, cold day. These are fairly small piles, all wood. They'll burn real quick. So we're here working all weekend. It's a long weekend. So we're going to take the opportunity to burn some of these piles, and I'll show you how that goes. Dave's over working just right next to me. I'll turn the camera and show you that. That's what I got. There's Dave, just on the other side of this field working, finishing touches before we start disking. So, get this in a little closer. For the most part, these piles light off very easily. Take a handful of wadded up paper or a little piece of cardboard. In some cases, just the small brush and grass incorporated in the pile was enough. Go ahead and get it started in an appropriate place, and it does not take long for it to take off. And this year, burning was permitted starting September 1st. But you definitely still need to practice safe burning. Wait for wet days or days that have lots of rain and little to no wind. Fire is a great tool, but has to be respected. A gas-powered or electric-powered leaf blower is a great addition to getting a fire started. By putting a jet of air on it, you basically turn it into a blast furnace, and it sure does accelerate the fire and gets it going fast. Comes in handy for helping getting a fire started. Well, here we are about 20-30 minutes. This pile's burned down pretty good. I mean, it's going to burn for the rest of the day, but it's just going to sit there and cook along like a campfire. Second pile is going good. Getting these burn piles out of the way is almost as important as clearing the land. It sure improves the efficiency of the field if you don't have anything in the way. So the fact we'll be able to go from trees and brush and logs to a clear open field in one calendar year is pretty cool. It's still going to have some sticks and some roots in it for a few years. So we'll be picking those out and crunching them up, and they'll decompose. But that's all part of a new field and farming. So we've got 5 little piles in this group here. So we'll let this one burn for a little while and kind of cook down, and we'll go over and start another one. So by the end of the day, there won't be anything in this field but pretty much piles of ashes. Okay, well, they're burning. Dave's out here with them. I'm going to go back and get the tractor and the grapple so I can give Dave a hand. Okay, we're about an hour into burning piles, and as you can see, this one's burned down pretty good. It's just going to sit here and cook and do its thing, and that is all right. Pile number 2 is getting burned down relatively good. It's burning up real nice. And then the other piles are relatively small piles as well, so they're just going to kind of cook along at a good rate, which is just what we like. Couldn't ask for better burning conditions. Cool, a slight drizzle, been raining good for the past 2 weeks. We lucked out. Okay, put the ballast box on. Fill it with basically sand, the dirt around here. Fill it with that, get some ballast so I can go make some logs. Unfortunately, I didn't get any video of using the ballast box, but it did a great job. You're probably thinking, Turn, let's just dump it in the bucket. I could do that. There's a little ways to go to get this, so I'm not going to go to trip right away, so I said I could fill it with one bucket load. Don't know, we'll see. Okay, got it all filled up. For the most part, it may settle a little bit, but hopefully that's the weight we need. So I'm going to give Dave a hand moving some logs, and yeah. Well, it's been about 8 hours since we lit the burn piles. That is all that is left. Even added to them a whole bunch during the day. So stopped putting stuff on them about 3 o'clock, and it's 8 o'clock. So good morning, everybody, on this Labor Day Monday morning. It is a cool, damp morning out here at the farm. A little bit of a slight mist, not quite a drizzle, but almost. Rained decently last night, so we're going to do some burning this morning. There's virtually no wind, so it looks like it's going to be a good day for that. Going to burn some of the smaller piles today. The piles that'll be a little more problematic if they get much snow on them. So that's kind of today's project. Get started early, so give them a chance to burn down by the afternoon. In the progression of a field, this is a very important step. Getting these burn piles out of the way is always a wonderful feeling. But also understanding the opportunity to do so is relatively limited. If we don't get them burned and cleaned up by the time spring comes, we will have missed our opportunity and won't be able to do this again until the following fall. One of the smaller piles. It's actually burning really good. Very pleased with that. Was a little afraid this old birch that had been down on the ground for quite a while wouldn't burn, but apparently being stacked up for a few months in the summer was able to dry out enough to burn. Very good thing. This field pretty much just had lots of down birch. The occasional spruce was just sitting in kind of tall grass. So took the dozer and skidded everything up into, pushed it up into kind of narrow, thin piles. So these will be the hardest ones to burn once the snow hits. So looking pretty good. Kind of have a little bit of a crosswind, which is nice. It doesn't get the fire going too fast, but gives it a chance to get a little bit of air. Probably as much as going to light today. 2 piles is plenty. The small one and then the longer one. There's 1, 2, 3, about 7 more piles in this field, but that's 7 piles in this field. We're not in a huge hurry to do this, so little at a time is okay. Started these fires a little before 7 o'clock, 6:45, something like that. So we'll check back in a bit and see how they're doing. The little old John Deere dozer we have at the farm, she's definitely old and slow, but she starts every time. Pretty easy to work on. There's always things that just a dozer can do that most other things have a hard time doing. In this case, we're using it to consolidate these piles. You take the outside edges and push them into the middle, just like if you're taking logs around the outside edge of a campfire and tossing them into the middle of the campfire. You don't want to get too deep or get too much of the dozer into the fire, but you want to push everything into where it's hot so you can burn all that leftover wood. And so far this year, when we're done, the pile is virtually all gone. There are just a couple of logs left or sticks left, and those will easily get pushed up over into the next pile or consolidated for a much smaller reburn. We couldn't be happier with the way these worked out. Hey, it's a little after 2 o'clock. We started these fires, it was almost 7, 6:30, 6:45. So about 7 hours, and they're pretty much burned down to nothing. I've consolidated them a couple times with the dozer. this point, we'll let them burn out. Be nice to get a little rain on top of it to settle the dust, and then we can take and collect the stragglers and push them into one more pile in the middle and burn them one last time. Dave's up on the hill. The first official corn off the field.
We got 30 off. We got 10 before last week.
So it's the first corn off this farm. Okay, here we are picking some corn. Adrian's on the other side here somewhere. So a few in here to get, that's for sure. There's a really big pumpkin in there. It's definitely not as big as the fair pumpkins, but there's actually pumpkins all over out here. Just hanging out. From all of us at Coffee Farm, hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.